Fear tingles down your spine and hairs stand on end. Mysteries unknown and tales in the dark. Are you ready? Hello? Let's get into tonight's mystery. It's known as the Devil's Triangle, a place where compasses spin wildly, radios fall silent, and ships and planes vanish as if swallowed up by the sea. Stretching from the coast of Miami to Bermuda and Puerto Rico, this vast triangular patch of the ocean has become a graveyard of unanswered questions. Over the decades, it has claimed the lives of pilots, sailors, and soldiers, and tourists alike. And in most cases, left behind no wreckage, no mayday calls, not even a trace. With our first story, it begins as all disappearances do, with silence. It was December 5th, 1945. The sun had barely dipped beneath the Florida coast as 5 Navy Avenger bombers roared into the sky. The mission was routine, Flight 19, a training run over the Atlantic. 14 men, clear weather, full fuel, and no reason to expect anything but a return to base. But the radio crackled strangely that afternoon. We can't find the West. Everything is wrong. Even the ocean looks different. Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the commanding pilot, sounded lost. Not just in location, but in something else. Disoriented, panicked. It was as if the air had thickened with something unseen. Their compasses had spun erratically, landmarks vanished into the fog that hadn't been forecasted. Then one final transmission. It looks like we entered white water. We're completely lost. Then, nothing. Not one of the 5 planes was ever seen again. No wreckage, no oil slick, no bodies, just silence. Even the rescue planes sent after them vanished without a trace, adding 13 more to the mystery. 30 men swallowed by the sky. Now, let's move backwards toward the spring of 1918. The Great War raged in Europe, and the USS Cyclops, a massive Navy coal transport ship, was headed home to Baltimore from the Caribbean. She carried over 300 men and 10,000 tons of manganese ore. She never arrived. There was no storm reported, no distress call. It was as if the sea itself opened wide and pulled her down whole, silent as the abyss. One naval officer would later whisper, the Cyclops went down without a sound. It's as if she entered another world. Not a single bolt was ever recovered. Then, in Christmas Eve of 1967, a man named Dan Barak set off from the Miami shoreline with a Catholic priest, Father Patrick Horgan. They took a yacht, a 23-foot luxury cruiser called the Witchcraft. It was unsinkable. Barak had reinforced it with flotation devices. They weren't even planning to leave the coast, just to see the city lights from the water. At 9 p.m., Barak called the Coast Guard. He calmly explained they'd hit something. Not a major collision, just a strange noise. Maybe a submerged object. The yacht wasn't taking on water. They just needed a tow. They were exactly 1 mile offshore. The Coast Guard arrived 19 minutes later, but nothing. No boat, no men, no debris. The water was calm, the location exact, but the witchcraft had vanished, and it never ever has been seen again. Now, let's drift into the 1970s. Pilot Bruce German took off from the Andros Island with his father and colleague aboard a Beechcraft Bonanza. The weather was clear, the sky was open. But then it appeared, a strange, swirling, cylindrical cloud shaped like a tunnel. Jernan said that the plane was sucked into the interior, a strange gray mist lit by intermediate flashes. No rain, no turbulence, but the instruments went haywire. As the clouds spat them out, Miami was beneath them, but something was wrong. They traveled over 100 miles in less than 3 minutes. The FAA logged no time from the missing space. It was as if they had skipped across dimensions. Bruce Gernon called it the electric fog. Scientists called it impossible, but he survived to tell the tale. Many others never did. In the graveyard of time, there are others, many others. The DC-3 lost in 1948 with 32 souls on board, radioing its approach to Miami just minutes before vanishing. The cargo ship El Faro in 2015, its last transmission eerie in tone before it sank in 15,000 feet of water with no clear reason. Pilots who report clocks skipping hours, GPS devices spinning, or stars moving too close. Some say it is all natural. Methane bubbles from deep beneath the sea floors could theoretically reduce water's density and sink ships like stones. Others speak of rogue waves, towering sudden monsters 100 feet high that break the ship in half, or magnet anomalies that make compasses go mad. Some speak softly of Atlantis, claiming the Bimini Road near the Bahamas is the remnants of lost technology. And others still say nothing, because what can you say when the ocean chooses not to give back the truth? They say the sea remembers everything, every shipwreck, every scream, every ghost. But the Bermuda Triangle, it seems the sea forgets, or perhaps it hides. Not every ghost of the triangle belongs to the distant past. Some still whisper from the black depths of our time. October 1st, 2015, the El Faro, a 790-foot cargo ship, left port from Jacksonville, Florida, heading towards San Juan, Puerto Rico. On board were 33 souls and a belly full of shipping containers. The Atlantic was restless, but the crew had weathered worse. And then came Hurricane Joaquin, rising like the wall in their path. The captain radioed the company at 7 a.m. "We are experiencing some flooding. We've lost propulsion." Those were his last words. For 2 days, the ship was declared missing. Not lost, not sunk, just not there. And then the wreck was finally discovered. It lay shattered in 15,000 feet of water, crushed under pressure when its hull split and its bridge tore from the main body. The data recorder survived, but even that gave no clear explanation. The storm's path did not align with the ship's strange trajectory. In the words of one investigator, it was like the El Faro sailed into the eye of something that wasn't there. In March of 2004, Private pilot Glenn Daniels took off from Nassau, Bahamas, heading west towards Fort Lauderdale. It was a calm, starlit night, the kind the pilots pray for. Midway through the journey, his co-pilot spotted something strange. A light, far too large for a star, far too still for a plane, hanging over the ocean. Daniel adjusted the course. The light moved fast, effortlessly. And then the plane's altimeter went wild. The radio crackled into the silence. Even their satellite beacon blinked off. The world outside darkened unnaturally, as though the stars themselves had dimmed. And for 11 long minutes, Daniel and his co-pilot were trapped in something they cannot explain. When the radio returned, air traffic control insisted they had gone off course by 47 miles, without ever changing heading or noticing movement. In 2017, the Cuban Coast Guard reported intercepting a vessel that had no crew. No identification and no response. It was a wooden schooner, eerily well preserved and drifting towards Havana from the northwest, directly out of the triangle's heart. The patrol boarded. Inside, they found place settings still arranged for dinner, dust gathered, and the journals dated from 1925. On the logs, they described the captain's last entry. "We are entering strange waters. The sun sets too soon here. Time is different." To this day, no one has identified the schooner's origin. Some believe it was the Cotopaxi, a ship believed lost near Cuba in 1925, one famously tied to the triangle's earliest lures. Some believe the triangle is not cursed by chance, but by something buried. Off the coast of Bimini in 1968, divers discovered a massive rectangular stone slabs positioned in what looks like a road beneath the water. Scientists called it a natural formation, but believers whispered the name Atlantis. Plato once described the lost as technologically advanced, destroyed in a day and a night, its remains swallowed by the sea. Could the triangle set atop ancient power, long dormant but still volatile? One theory suggests that electromagnetic energy from the sunken crystals, relics of Atlantean tech, might cause magnetic anomalies, navigational confusion, and even time displacement. To scientists, the answer is clear. The Gulf Stream can erase all traces of sinking vessels in minutes. Methane hydrates may erupt and reduce buoyancy, swallowing a ship whole. Weather anomalies, the rogue waves strike with no warning, and many accidents blamed on the triangle occurred just outside its borders. But the question lingers: why do radios die? Why no wreckage, no beacons, no calls for help? Why the silence? Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is not a place. Perhaps it's a veil, a crack in the world, a point where time folds, where reasons falter, and where the sea still feeds on secrets. So remember, wanderers, the ocean is old, older than memory, older than fear, and in some places, it dreams. Sail carefully, fly cautiously, and never ignore the compass when it begins to spin. You've been drifting with Nightly Haven, and the sea is still watching. Have a spooky night, guys. Bye.